Can I read you a story? Yeah. Let me do that. Well, this is from a scene that I think we can all relate to. When I was working at World Vision, I did a lot of traveling. In fact, I swore when I retired that I wasn't going to fly for a year. I haven't done very good on that, have I, honey? Because I've probably flown more since I retired. But yeah, airline travel, if you do it a lot, the bloom is off the rose real quick. Just lines and rent-a-cars and, hassles and whatever. And this is a story. This story is based on one of my business trips and something that actually happened to me. So this story is called The Unaccompanied Minor. The yellow taxi stops abruptly, skidding to the curb, and I exit to a sidewalk that's so crowded, it's absurd. Pulling on my bag just elevates my rising dander, both the wheels skewed and bent by overzealous baggage handlers. This trip has been like penance for some sin I must atone. Just get me to my plane, to my seat, and fly me home. My journey started yesterday, this harried little gem. The tyrannical alarm clock woke me up at 4 a.m. Once arriving at the airport, then the real fun begins. It's the gauntlet of the traveler, and may the best man win. Lines to get a boarding pass, to get a luggage x-ray, to buy a cup of coffee, and to penetrate the jetway. I squeeze into my middle seat, a quite compacted client. On my left reclines Paul Bunyan, on my right, Andre the Giant. Enduring beefy elbows, shoulders, midsections, and knees, I achieve my destination, tenderized like cottage cheese. And once that stupefying segment of the sojourn finds its end, the real imposing portion of my marathon begins. For I have a breakfast meeting, then mid-morning conversations, working luncheon to attend, an afternoon of presentations. Then there's cocktails with the clients and a formal dinner banquet. Afterwards, till midnight, we'll review, report, and rank it. Then asleep until 5:30, shaved and showered out by 6, bolt some breakfast, catch a taxi for a golf and client mix. Run some clubs, buy some golf balls, hustle over to the tee, making sure to let the boss and clients win by 3. Hurry back to the hotel and stoically ignore the bed, for my laptop harbors 1,600 emails unread. Then another working dinner ends with handshakes all around, and I scurry to the airport like a spent, bedraggled hound. No more talking, no more chatting, conversations or discussion, not on English, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, French, or Russian. Just get me to my seat, let me sink into that nook, fasten headphones on my ears, and stick my face into a book. Can anybody relate? Yeah. Airline travel is never the most fun, but there are times, I kind of joked with Pam this morning, we were talking about introverts, extroverts, and a lot of people think extrovert, the person that's out there, and the introvert is the quiet and shy one. It really has nothing to do with that. What it really has to do with is how you regain energy. Extroverts expend energy when they're alone. They gain energy when they're with people. So if they're working at a task where they're really isolated and the tank gets low, they're going to go find somebody to talk to. Anybody in this room that way? Yeah, got some extroverts in here. Make a phone call, go see somebody. That's how they refill the tank. Introverts, on the other hand, can be as out there as anybody. I'm an introvert. Pam's an introvert. We can be out there as anybody, but that's how we expend energy. And then when that tank is empty, how do you refill it? You go to Polsbo for 2 days and leave your family in Renton. That's what Pam's going to do. I admire her. That's what you do. You find that alone time, that time to be able to recharge your batteries. There's a word, we go on these mission trips. We got one coming up. I'm going to the Crow Nation. That's going to be really fun. But sometimes you're just like with people all the time. And I tell Kevin, I go, dude, I got to go for a walk. I'm over-socialized. That's the word. I'm over-socialized today. I need a little alone time. I got to refill those batteries. I can remember coming home from work and telling Grace I'd walk in the door after a day and I'd go, I have no words for you. I used them all. So don't expect me to be very talkative. When our strength ends, when our strength is gone, when our capacity and capabilities are gone, many times, that's where God will ask us to step up. And why does he do that? Why doesn't he ask me to do that when I'm at my best, when my batteries are charged? Because we think we're all that in a bag of chips, right? But when we're at the end of our tether, that's God's space. That's that opportunity for God to step in and be and do who he's going to be and do in us. Amen? Amen. Well, entering the airplane, I encounter a surprise, and I surely must be dreaming, as I can't believe my eyes. Empty seats abound in numbers too abundant to be true, and I seek my sanctuary like a saint pursues his pew. I settle in my row next to the window, and I smile, for there's no one in the middle seat and no one on the aisle. Passenger by passenger, the others find their stations till the boarding is complete, and I've preserved my isolation. But my wanton celebration soon receives a course correction when a single flight attendant points a hand in my direction. Then down the center aisle, as welcome as a heart attack, comes a freckled little girl in her commodious backpack. The flight attendant says, it's her first trip by jet airliner. Her name is Katerina. She's an unaccompanied minor. Perfect. I intone and try to mask my rising bile as the flight attendant tells her, we'll just seat you on the aisle. So, buckling up her seatbelt with her backpack underfoot, she settles in for takeoff as my dream trip goes kaput. Reaching cruising altitude, the seatbelt sign is gone, and she reaches for her pack while I pretend to sleep and yawn. She must be 8 or 9. She can't be any more than that, as she rummages for something deep within her bulging pack. Through falsely lidded eyes, I deftly peek and take a look, and I can see that she is thumbing through a well-worn photo book. She pauses on each picture, and I can almost hear her sigh, and my heart begins to whisper when I see her wipe her eyes. You can feel the aching sadness, feel it hanging in the air, and I realize my observation's done now without care. She glances my direction, and our eyes meet just like that. My name is Katerina, but my family calls me Kat. Hello, Katerina. I look from my book and say, do you spell that with a C or do you spell it with a K? It's a K, she says, and moves her backpack to her knee. Fishing out a deck of cards, she asks, do you want to play with me? Have you ever had a moment frozen, petrified in time, when your options and your choices seem so clear within your mind? To do the thing your tired flesh and bone want you to do? Or listen to that whispered voice that gently beckons you? I know that invitation's author. I know him very well. To be honest, I've ignored his summons more than I can tell. But I also know the wonder of his overture accepted, the pleasure of obedience, of blessings unsuspected. And so, although my tired mind and body want their way, reaching for the middle seat, I lower down the tray. Has anyone ever had an experience like that? Yeah, where it's everything you want just to maybe not engage, but there's that still small voice that I think is spoken. I'm gonna own this. That still small voice is spoken in my ear many, many times a day, and many times I don't hear it, or I hear it but I don't listen to it. There are so many times where we're called for these little small intersections, and most of the time, sometimes maybe it's a kind word, maybe it's just helping somebody. And there are times where, most of the time I would say, you have that exchange, you perform that act of kindness, you have that conversation, you go their way, they go theirs, and you really don't know what the eternal value of that is, but God knows. And I really truly believe that all of those encounters are little bricks in the wall of a foundation of somebody having an encounter with him, something that's going to be meaningful for them. But you know what's really cool? Sometimes God lets you see the fruit of that. Sometimes you actually see and understand what the outcome of that conversation is. Well, I think I'd better warn you of my skills, Cat with a K, my card-playing reputation from Miami to LA. She crinkles up her nose, a knowing grin soon forms and dances. She comments as she shuffles, well, I think I'll take my chances. And so we come together, or that empty middle seat, playing fish, old maid, and crazy eights at 30,000 feet. And as we play, Cat talks of family and of home, of mom and dad's divorce, and how she's come to fly alone. I'm living with my mom. Her voice contained a subtle pity. My dad, he moved a year ago off to another city. I get to see him sometimes, not as often as I wish. Got any threes? She asked me. I answered her, go fish. This time it's really different, and she slowly drew a card. I'm not certain how I feel. I think this visit's kind of hard. He says he's met somebody. It's a woman. Her name is Carrie. He says he really loves her, and they're planning to get married. Her voice grew low and distant. I could sense her worrying. That's got to be confusing for you, Cat. Got any kings? She plucked 2 cards and slid them to me across the tray. I'm nervous just to meet her and to have something to say. I want Dad to be happy, and then she fiddled with her laces. Guess he and Mom will never reconcile. Got any aces? It went this way for miles and miles. I listened and she spoke, breaking from our game to eat some pretzels, drink some Coke. She didn't need my sage advice or what I'd recommend, just someone she could talk to, play cards with, and be her friend. It struck me in that moment that to really love and care is often nothing more than simply choosing to be there. George Burns had a great phrase, the comedian George Burns. He would say 90% of success is just showing up, just showing up, just being there. I think that that's a great turn of phrase for us to use. 90% of all God really wants from us, just show up, just be there. Kevin tells a great story. He's told the youth group several times about when he first went to church. I think you were a junior higher. Didn't know anybody, was invited to go, showed up, and there was a teacher's assistant that he had known from school, and he saw Kevin, and he called him by name. He said, Kevin, over here. And Kevin said, somebody knows my name. Somebody remembers me, and put you on the path to joining that youth group and knowing Christ and where you are today. I think about that because I think about the simplicity of just remembering somebody's name. And I think I'd just love to challenge this, because I challenge it because I'm the worst at this. Because somebody can tell their name to me, and everybody else like this, you turn away and you go, what was that? It is okay to ask, and it's better than going, hey, buddy, which is what I do. Everybody's my buddy because I can't remember their name. But this church is so good at welcoming people and making people feel welcome and asking their name. Isn't it great, and wouldn't it be great if we could remember that name the next Sunday when they come back and say, hey, Carl, hey, Jim, whatever it is. But sometimes it's nothing more than just remembering a name. Just show up. Just show up. Well, the seat light belt comes on, and we both hear the admonition to please restore your seats to their upright and locked position. And as she buckled up and I put away the middle tray, then settled in our seats, I hear her clear her throat and say, they told me when the plane lands to let other people pass, because I'm flying all alone, I have to get off last. I hope I'm not a little pest. I'd really hate to be, but can I ask if you would stay behind and wait for me? Well, rarely in my journeys and my travels through this world have words so deeply touched me as these words did from this girl. So thankful that I'd put my selfish impulses to rest, I offered her a fist bump and then smile and tell her yes. Soon our aircraft touches down and we taxi to the gate, while other travelers all deplane. With Cat, I sit and wait. And there in quiet patience, as the people move and stand, she sits, her backpack on her lap, and tightly holds my hand. I pray for her protection, that the Lord would keep watch above her, that those who wait beyond the door would cherish and would love her. And as the final passenger escapes to hail a cab, the flight attendant says, "Come on, my dear, let's find your dad." Clinging to her backpack like a puffy life preserver, she offers me a hug, and I can softly hear her murmur. The words are barely whispered, and as simple as can be, "Thanks for traveling as my friend and playing cards with me." Then, with the flight attendant up the aisle, she moves along, that backpack bobbing up and down, and out the door, she's gone. I sit there for a moment and let a flood of joy release, still tired, but rewarded with a special sense of peace. At last, I leave the airplane, walking down to baggage claim to find that bag with tweaky wheels, the one that bears my name. So as this chain of travel moves to forge its final link, at the furthest door, I just can glimpse a backpack, large and pink. A man and woman frame the girl like two protective towers. In one hand, she holds preciously a fresh bouquet of flowers. The other hand is held secure, the woman's kind embrace. My last remembered image is the smile upon her face. Nodding in contentment, I ignore the airport racket and rummage for my cell phone in the pocket of my jacket. What I withdraw instead, no doubting soul can disregard. There resting in my weary hand, a well-worn deck of cards. I run my thumb across the box, a wide grin on display. For there in magic marker, it says cat, spelled with a K.